Thank you everyone for joining with us today. I really hope that you all are doing safe and well. Um, Jumping on the topic, I am here to talk about this particular topic called composer scripting. And mainly it is going to be based on how I have used composer scripts along with Drupal or in a Drupal project workflow. So that is what I'm going to talk about. Uh, let's get started with this. So let me introduce you myself. I am Kunal Kursija and I am based in Mumbai, India. Um, I am a Drupal technical architect by profession and I am working with Accelerant at the moment. If you want to reach out and say hello after this session, you can reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. So yeah, let's get started with the topic of the day. Um, Before we just jump into the details, I'll just give you a brief introduction about how this topic is going to be divided into. This topic will be covered into two parts, where the first part is the theory aspect of composer scripts. You might get a bit bored in the first half, but I'm sure that you will pretty much enjoy the second half of this. But yeah, the second half is going to be based on like the information that I'm going to provide you in the first half. So yeah, let's get started with the very first slide, which is what is a script in terms of composer. Now, script is in general, you can say a piece of code that does some logic for you or some task for you. And in terms of definition, it is basically a PHP callback, or you know, it is basically a group of functions that you execute to do some particular job. That's it. That is a script. And it can be a CLI command, it can be a Python script, it can be a PHP script or a bash command, etc. So that is what a script is in terms of composer. Now, where do we place these scripts in composer? Now, in composer.json, the composer provides you a section under the and this section is called as scripts. You can see the screen. I have shown you a simple demo code of how the script section looks in the composer.json, and it is present at the root level. If you see inside the scripts array, we have this key value pair, where key is nothing but the name of the script or the name of the command, where value is the logic or the piece of code that you are going to execute. That was the first line, that is key one and value, whereas key two is also a script, but it is not doing only one task, it is executing two different tasks. So that's up to you how the business logic is. And yeah, that's it about like where do we place these scripts. Moving on. Now there is also a term called as composer events. Whenever you execute any command from the CLI, that is the composer command, during this command lifecycle, composer executes various events throughout that, the lifecycle of the command. And it basically allows different packages or different scripts to hook into that particular command. While the command is executing by composer, you can execute your own custom code as well. And that is allowed to you by composer events. We'll look into that in great detail when we go into the demo. Now, let's categorize the events that are fired by the composer. Let's say when you execute any command or a composer command from the CLI, for example, composer install, composer fires various types of events. And these events are categorized into 4 different categories, namely command events, installer events, package events, and plugin events. Now, these are the higher level categories. Under each category, you have various number of events available to you, which you can utilize it based on your business requirement. And what those events are, we'll look into the next slides. Before that, as I said, there are 4 types of categories available to you. Now, whenever composer fires any type of event from any of these categories, it is going to pass an object along with it to the PHP callback, or the any callback uh, that you have defined. So let's say you are writing any script in Composer. Now, depending on the type of event you choose from these categories, your callback or the script callback is going to get a different object, and that object is going to be based on the type of event you are writing in your code. And again, that is going to be dependent on the type of category you choose. Moving on, command events. Now, this is the very first category. I won't recommend reading each and every line over here. I have pasted or pasted the whole theory that is available in the composer events. But what's important over here is that you should know that all these command level events, whenever you fire any composer command like composer install, update, or status, etc., you get all these events, that is pre-install CMD, post-install CMD, and so on. Let's consider the second one, that is post-install CMD. Now, it says that this event is fired by Composer whenever you execute the Composer install command, or basically after the Composer install command is executed. So similarly, all these events are fired at different points of composer script execution. So that is the command events for you. Now, installer events. Now we have only one event that is fired by composer, and it's called as pre-operations execution, and it occurs this event is fired just before the install and upgrade operations are executed. For let's say, for example, you are executing composer install a package. Now, when you fire this command, that is composer install, or composer require package name, when you execute this command, composer is going to update the log file first, that is the workflow. Now, before downloading the package from the packagist, it is going to fire this particular event, which is pre-operations executor. And you can hook your business logic in this event itself. Next category is package events. Now, these are various, package level events that are available to you. For example, pre-package install. Now, this event is fired right before, a package is installed into your repository. Similarly, you have various other events in this category as well. And yeah, moving on, plugin events. Now, this is the last category. You have various types of event here as well, whereas the names of those events are init, command, pre-file download, post-file download, etc. And these are also fired at, similarly, like all the other categories, these are also fired at different times. For example, the command event. Now, whenever you execute any command from the CLI, this is sort of, the first or second command or the second event that is fired by the composer. I would say that would be it from these categories. I know these might have been a bit theoretical, but I'm sure you will understand them better when we proceed into the demo part. So let's get started with the demo about what these events are, or the composer events basically. I'll come out of the slides. Now, our demo is going to be based on this site, which we are hardly going to use, or I don't think we are going to use it as well. But let me give you an example, the walkthrough of how this site is built and what kind of code repository I have with me. So this is a Drupal 9 instance, and this is purely a vanilla Drupal with very one minor contributed modules installed and nothing else. Let's go to the code. Now, this is the repository, and this is where or you can say this is our playground for the day, and it has all the code that is running that Drupal 9 instance that I showed you. So let me just close this. I'll open the composer.json first. Here we go. As I mentioned earlier, we write scripts at the root level of your composer.json. Now, if you see over here, we have a script section. Now, in this script section, I have various scripts written. Out of this, the first part of the demo is going to cover these four sections, where I have hooked into the composer lifecycle by using one event from each of the four categories I showed you. Let's get started with the very first event, which is plugin events. Now, what I'm doing over here is on line number 45, I am telling the composer that whenever any command is executed or the composer command is executed, please execute this particular piece of script. Let's decode this particular script. This script has two parts. This is the namespace, whereas it tells composer where to find this particular class, and this is basically a function that is present inside this class. Now, just to tell you like where I have placed these scripts that I'm going to execute. These scripts are present inside the scripts directory of my repository. I'll open this, and I have composer scripts, PHP scripts, and shell scripts in here. Let me open the composer directory. Let's talk about the very first class, and that is plugin events. I'm going to open this file, but before opening, let me tell you that apart from this namespace, you will have to sort of auto load these files as well, because composer is not going to know like how to load your file, like where this namespace is present actually, in which repository, or sorry, which directory. So we have this auto load section over here. This basically describes your files. Let's say the plugin events. Now I am telling composer that auto load all these four files whenever a command is executed from the CLI. So composer will know that, or it will have all these scripts ready when you execute, or when it executes any script for you. Let's jump into the file, plugin events. I'll zoom this a bit. So this file is a pure PHP file. It has a namespace. If you notice over here, now this is the exact same namespace that we mentioned in the composer.json. If we go back, we have written webcam 2021 composer, and plugin events is the name of the class. So this double slash signifies the namespace. It is basically escaping of the backslash. So we write this character twice. Let's go to composer events. Now, I am using this command event. As I told you earlier, that whenever you execute any command, your PHP callback, in this case, our command execution function is our callback, and it is going to receive this particular argument. Let me demo this to you. Let's say I am opening this CLI. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Just a moment. Okay. Now I'm going to execute a command, let's say composer by Drupal/devil. I already have this devil module inside my repository, and it's already installed. So I'm executing. Why do we have this module? I'm asking composer. And as you see over here, it says that this particular script was fired, and the output was this plain print that we have done. And we are basically typing that event command was fired. Now this command event is basically this. So basically when we executed this composer command, composer fired a plugin event which we hooked into, and we printed the message. And you can have your own business logic over here. So yeah, that is plugin event. Let's go. I'll close this file. Now, post install CMD. Now, this falls into the command events category, and this is basically fired after composer install is executed. So let's say we execute composer install now, and I'll hit enter. All right, you have this particular output. Let me decode this to you. So this is like the plugin event that was fired. Now this is the very first event that is fired by composer when you execute any command. After that, it executed some other command, which we'll come back to this later on. But before that, what you should pay attention to is at the very bottom, hook post install command was fired. Now, what we did was we hooked into this install event, and we basically ran some business logic. Let's talk about the business logic we executed over here. If you notice, we already have these two messages from the script that says starting settings.php refresh and completed refreshing settings.php. Let me minimize this. And in post install CMD, we are executing this command events class. And sorry, we are executing the refresh settings PHP function of the command events class. Let's open this. Okay, we have some logic over here. Just the same story. We have namespace and we are using some classes. Now, this is the callback that we have, asked composer to use whenever the post install CMD is fired by composer. At the very first, you have this output message which says that the event post install CMD was fired. After that, I have written some business logic that is simply, what this piece of code is doing is it is going to web directory, sites, default, and it is simply copy pasting this file to this settings.php. That is app.settings.php is getting copied into settings.php. If you want, and this is basically get ignored if you see. So I'll simply just delete the settings.php first. And as you see, this is deleted. Let's execute composer install again. And that's it. Okay, let's see if the compose settings.php is back or not. Here we go, it's back. And this is a small business logic that I have written. Now it comes handy where you don't want your developers to push any changes into the settings.php, and you are allowing them to have this file available to them on the local host. That's it. And yeah, if you make any changes over here, let's say you want your developers to have settings.local.php as well, I'll simply uncomment this piece of code. I'll simply run composer install again. And let's see if settings.php is refreshed or not. If you see, the comment was removed from here as well. So yeah, that is post install CMD event for you. Let me close these files. Let's move on to the next event that is fired by composer, which is pre-operations execution. Now, we are again similarly telling composer that to call this particular function when you fire this particular event, and this function is present inside the installer events class. Let's open the installer events class. Same story, we have the namespace and we are using this installer event class, which is available to this callback as an argument. And we are simply printing a message that this particular event was fired. Now, when I said earlier that I'll come back to this message later on, when we executed composer install, we saw this message was fired. After that, and this was a plugin event. After that, this script was executed. which says event pre-operations execution has been fired. So yeah, that is installer events to you. Moving on, pre-package install. Now this is basically, again the package level event that is fired by composer. Let's see what we are doing over here is we are calling this function, which is present inside package events class. Let's open this. Again, we are simply printing the message over here that this event was fired, and the argument that this script receives it is called package event. Let me show you a few composer commands and let's see how these events are fired. I'll clear this first. Let's say composer require Drupal/admin toolbar. So we are downloading few modules now. And out of those, first one is admin toolbar and the another one is CSV. Let me hit enter. I'll quickly have water. All right. Composer 2 is pretty fast. Otherwise, we might have to take a break if you are using Composer 1. So it's a good thing. Let me just show this to you. Like, so see, we require two modules. The very first command that was the very first event that was fired by Composer was the command event, which falls under the category plugin events. After that, it updated the log file. As you can see, it update or it sort of added entries to the composer.log file. And after that, it fired various events. Now, it first of all fired pre-operations execution event, which falls under installer events. If you notice over here, this event was fired just once. However, package events were fired twice for both the modules. If you see, we have an output that says this pre-package install event is fired. And if you see the line below this, it is present just above or it was fired just when Composer was downloading the admin toolbar module. So yeah, this package events are fired, multiple times depending on the behavior or the interactions you are having with different packages, update, require, remove, etc. So let me see. Yeah, I think that's it from having different events. Just one more thing. Okay, I'll come back to that later. It will make more sense. So just a quick revision. Composer fires different events, and these events fall under different categories, and you can execute various type of business logic or by hooking into these events. Yeah, I think that's it. That would be like a quick summary. Let's proceed to the presentation again. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Writing and executing custom composer commands. As you saw, we had different events that were available to us by Composer. You can, apart from those, you can also create your own custom commands or custom scripts. You need not wait for different events to be fired by Composer. You can have different scripts that you can create on your own. You can have various business logic in them. You can share those commands with your DevOps team, which and talk with them only in terms of Composer. If you notice on a day-to-day basis, when we deal with the DevOps team, we have collaboration with them, talking in terms of Drush, any other commands. I mean, any other different tools as well. It's not just limited to Composer or Drush. You can simply leverage this particular feature of Composer and talk with them only in terms of Composer. How? We'll see that in the demo. Let me exit out of this. I'll go back to the composer.json. Now, the scripts that you see right from here up till, we have all these scripts that are, all these are like different type of scripts available if we are executing using or leveraging different tools. How? Let's see. The very first script that we have created is, it says find code validation or violations. What this script does is it basically finds PHP code violations that are available or that are being done in your repository. I'll simply show you like how to execute scripts. Scripts can be run in three different ways. The first one is composer run -script name, and in here our script name is find code violations. So this is our script name. Let's hit enter. Now it is going to find violations in our code. Okay, so that was the very first way of executing script. The second way is you have to run composer run space find code violations. Again, I'm executing the same script. It's just there are three different ways to execute the scripts. Finally, the third way is, and this is like an easy way, which you are mostly going to use, which says composer space find code violations. Sorry about that. Yeah. So as I said, there are three ways to execute scripts. Now, how it found out code violations are there or not. I basically have this PHP code sniffer, added in my repository. I'm not going to like walk through over this PHP code sniffer because it will become lengthy, but just to show you, I have this PHPCS.xml over here. I have defined various, rules over here, like what to scan, what not to scan in terms of violations. So yeah, that's it. Moving on, the next script is fix code violations. Now this is again another tool which is called as PHPCBF. It basically helps you in automatically fixing the violations that are being done in your code. I'll give you a quick demo. In this repository, I have a custom module which is called as webcam 2021, and it is already installed. Let's do a code violation, an intentional code violation in here. Let's remove this empty line from this file. And let's hit, or first of all, we'll find if the code violations are there or not. I have executed composer find code violations. And it says there is a one violation. Let's run the next script, which is called as fix code violation. Composer fix code violations, and it is trying to fix the violations that are done in our .module file. If you see, it says fixed 1, remaining 0. Let's see if the empty line is added back or not. If you see, line number 7 is present again. So that is how you can, have PHPCS and PHPCBF integrated with Composer and available to you as different commands. I also have this shell script. I have created a custom command. It's called shell-script. I'll simply, clear this output. I'll run composer shell script. And what it says is, hello, everyone. Let's create files directory if it does not exist. Now let's go to the script. I am telling the composer that this shell script is present over here in the scripts directory. We have another directory called shell, and we have there a script called as webcamp2021.sh. Let's open this file. If you see, we have this line that tells that this is a shell script. We are printing a message that we saw. It has some logic over here. which is basically changing the directory from your current directory to the default directory, which is websites default. And then it is checking if the files directory is present or not. If not, then it is creating a files directory. Let's quickly go through this. So this is sites default files. I'll simply delete this. Oh, sorry, cancel. I should not be doing this from here. I'll say rm-rf web sites default files. If you see, files directory is gone. Let's quickly execute the script. Composer shell -script. It says it created the files directory and it is now clearing the cache actually. So if you see, files directory is back and it created or it cleared the cache as well. So I executed a drush command as well from the shell script. Closing this, let's move on to the next script. Now you can also execute different PHP scripts from Composer. I have created a script called PHP-script. I'll say Composer PHP script. So see, it's simply printing a message when we executed this. One thing to note over here is this command has this @ symbol over here. Now, this is how you execute PHP scripts inside Composer lifecycle. Let's see what the content of these files are. We have this file or the PHP file present at the scripts PHP directory, and the file is called as webcam2021.php. As you can see, it is simply printing a message. That's it. Let's move on to next scripts. Now we have another script called as get PHP version. So Composer get PHP version. It basically prints the outputs of PHP version. So see, you need not have a file available to you as a script. You can have write basically different PHP logic in here as well. Moving on. So that was about executing shell scripts and PHP scripts. We will execute different drush and composer commands now, and we have a script for that which is called as build backend. I'll copy this. Let's clear the output first. I'll say composer build backend. Now at first step, it is clearing the cache. After that, it is going to execute the command called composer install. After that, it is executing drush update database, if you see. And now it is going to execute drush config import. So as I said earlier, you can communicate with your DevOps team in terms of composer commands. This is just a small example for that, where, this is a very common step that we follow during our day-to-day Drupal development. Whenever you start with any new task or, get latest changes from the upstream. So yeah, that is one example. And one thing to note over here is, you are executing a composer install command or a composer command basically. And the way to do that is you have to write @ symbol before composer keyword. So yeah, that is how the build backend script executed. Now we have another command with us which says test backend. Now I am going to execute a PHPUnit test over here. I'll clear this first. Let's execute composer test backend. If you see, it is executing our test and it says that the test has passed. Let's see what the code in this test is. First of all, if you see, we have this PHPUnit present inside this vendor bin directory. And we are telling PHPUnit to execute this test. The test is present inside our custom module. And the custom module is webcam21. It has test directory, src, and I've written a DDT test basically. It's a pretty simple one where we are writing this test to check if the node module exists or not on the site. So let me just change this name, let's say node1, and let's test this script. Now it will say that, the test has failed, and we know why, because we are checking a wrong module name or a module that does not exist. Let's execute this back. Okay, so the test passed again. So that's how you can execute, the PHP unit test as well using composer commands, or the custom composer command specifically. All right, we have another command available to us, and it says build front end. Let me clear this. Sorry, I'll write composer build front end. Now what it does is it is changing the directory and it is executing npm install. So apart from this composer, the custom module, I also have a custom theme that is already enabled, and it is present at themes directory, custom, and the theme is called webcam 2021_UI. If you see, I have a package.json over here that basically defines like what kind of packages we are going to define. Now, let's say we remove this node modules directory. I have deleted that. Let's run the build front-end command again. So if you see, it changed the directory, and after that, it executed npm install. So we'll have this node modules directory back with us. And if you want to communicate with your DevOps team in very simple terms, you can create a very simple script for them that is going to execute all the building of backend, front end, and testing them, etc. And the way to do that is by using a feature called script referencing. Now this is another feature by which you can reference one script inside another. So if you see, we have this @ symbol. Now this is basically the reference symbol by which composer identifies that this is a script already created in this composer.json file. And yeah, that's it. So let's test this. I will execute composer, deploy, and test. If you see, it is building the backend first. It is updating the database. I will quickly go through here. Okay, see. CR. See, it is at this step right now. Composer, the drush config import. After that, it is going to execute this PHP unit test. It passed. Now it is going to, build the front end for you. And yeah, that's it. So it executed different scripts using the feature called script referencing by using or inside this particular command only. Okay, so this is all about like creating your own custom commands and basically having different types of scripts available inside them, and those you can have them provide them to your DevOps team for a better communication, and you can talk in terms of composer only. And one more thing over here is we have this another section inside this composer scripts, which is called as scripts description. Now, basically, this is where you are providing a help text for different scripts that you have written. And if you see, these are all the scripts that we have written in this composer.json, and we have provided the help text, and we have defined like what each script is about. Where these descriptions are available to you, if you do clear, now composer, let's say list. Now this is where it lists all the commands to you or the scripts. You can find different descriptions over here. For example, shell script. Now this is the one we created, and this is the description for it. I'll clear this and I'll try to make it simple. I'll say composer list and find a text called webcam 2021. Here it is. It basically found these scripts, or it found all the scripts where this particular word was present. So that's how you see the descriptions. And I think that would be it. Just one moment. I think, yeah, that would be it that I had to tell about in the demo. Now let's quickly go through the questions. I see we have something in the chat. Oh, I think I am reading it too late. Is it possible to zoom in a bit? I mean, was anything not clear? Do you want me to clear something up
You
over
are
here?
good. I could read you fine.
The question was, will this composer JSON file be available?
You're saying as a reference to you after this call?
Yeah, I think they just want to know if they can have this example.
Yeah, I have created a repository. That is the next slide. So once we cover all the questions, I'll share my site with you and my slides as well. So you'll have all the code. Okay. So just a moment. It's weird you have to escape the backslashes while having the namespaces wrapped in codes. Yeah, I think that's how the standard is in Composer. That's how we define or write namespaces. Okay. It's pretty easy in PHP files though.
So the next couple questions are mine. So you've got the command script and the pre-operations exec script. It seems that those both run whenever you run any Composer command. Is that what's the difference between those two?
So just a moment. I'll go through. Let me just go to the code for you. So you are saying that what is the difference between this plugin events and the command events? Basically, the question is that, right? I mean,
well, the difference specifically the difference between command and pre-operations exec, because I get post install command, pre-package install.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
So command and pre-operations exec. I'm not finally parsing the difference between those two.
Right. So basically, these are categorized into different events. I mean, those are event categories. It depends on the business logic that you want to execute. Now, if you saw earlier, we had various commands over here. If I had given, all the examples from each of the category, it would have been like pretty difficult to read the CLI output. But it totally depends upon your business logic. When do you want to execute or hook into Composer? For instance, in Drupal, when you write, let's say you want to execute any business logic just before the node is saved, you can't use hook node update for that. You have to use like hook node pre-save for that. So I mean, that is just an example.
It's an order of operations thing. Okay, thank you. That helps.
Yeah.
And then the other question I had was looking at your fixed code violations. So that's modifying code that's in your repo. Then that gets picked up by Git, right? So you would hook that into Composer, and then all of a sudden Git's going to say, "Hey, you've got changed files in here. Do you want to commit them or reject the changes?"
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else? So yeah, will this composer.json be available? I think that would be it from the questions point of view. If there is anything, yeah, please let me know.
Thank you very much. Kunal, this was great.
All right. Okay. So talking about the resources, like I have created this GitHub repository where you will be finding all the code. I'll quickly paste this in chat. Just a minute.
That way,
so that it is
perfect. That way, I will be able to post it to your presentation on the website.
Yeah, I'll post it in the Zoom chat. So you have code and slides both.
All right.
And I would like to say, like, thank you for this opportunity. It was my first time speaking at this Stanford webcam. I mean, had pandemic been not here, I would have got an opportunity to meet you all guys. So thank you for allowing me to present this remotely, and it was a very good experience.
Thank you, Kunal.